the Deputy Leader, Michael Daly MP.
Wow, what a great sight. A room full of sea of red, true believers everywhere. Thank you very much, Karen, for that kind introduction. Well, friends, as you saw from the video, last week Luke Foley and our team climbed aboard a big red bus emblazoned with a very simple message: schools and hospitals before stadiums. Luke and the team started the journey in Willoughby, in the heart of Gladys Berejiklian's electorate. We are taking this fight directly to her and her heartland. Luke and the team went from East Hills to Lismore, from Barwon to Heathcote, Ryde to Mulgoa, and to many, many communities in between. Along the way, we announced great local candidates: David Keegan in Myall Lakes, Martin Rush in Upper Hunter, Stephen Lawrence in Dubbo, so thanks for welcoming those candidates. Can you welcome all the other candidates as well who are running for Labor in seats all across the state? Some of them will be very difficult to win. So thanks for putting your hands up. On Wednesday night, the Shadow Cabinet met in Monero, in the seat of John Barilaro. You know John, he was the guy who said a year ago that Luke Foley's idea to spend the entire $4 billion proceeds from the sale of Snowy Hydro in the bush was a bad idea. Until a week ago, when he and Gladys Berejiklian tried to claim that idea as their own and announced it as one of their policies. Well done, Luke. Bryce Wilson will sort John Barilaro right out. And today, of course, we're in the heartland of Penrith, the seat of the architect of the disastrous stadium's policy, Stuart Ayres. Make no mistake about it, friends, this time next year, it'll be goodbye Stuart Ayres and welcome to Karen McEwen. Friends, everywhere Luke and the team went this week, they were told the same message everywhere they went. This government has got its priorities wrong. It's confused, it's divided, it ignores community. It hasn't lost touch, the fact is it's never had it. And now Gladys Berejiklian says, trust us, we have a plan, we're investing. And she is, in bulldozers, to knock down 2 perfectly good stadiums. And all week, we've been told in every corner of the state, despite Daniel Hookie's best efforts to sell this policy, that the people of New South Wales don't like it, and because of it, they no longer trust this government. Friends, I have the pleasant task today of welcoming dignitaries and special guests, but let me welcome the most special guests first. The branch members, friends and supporters of our party. You are the strength of our tribe. When Luke Foley becomes the Premier this time next year, it'll be off the back of your efforts that he will have achieved that goal. So Luke will be here shortly to thank you in anticipation. But can I welcome Wayne Swan, former Treasurer who shepherded Australia through the GFC safely, member for Lilly and candidate for ALP National President. Thanks for coming down today, Wayne. Caleb Benane, our General Secretary, Mark Lennon, our President, Mark Morey, Secretary of Unions New South Wales, and many, many of our trade union colleagues. We'll do this together, friends. Can I welcome federal MPs, including our federal member Emma Hussar, the giant killer. John Fane, Mayor and Councillors of Penrith City. Our state parliamentary Labor colleagues, all of whom are here today on the stage, particularly our hard-working and well-travelled Shadow Cabinet. Welcome, friends and colleagues. course, we'll hear from the leader in a moment. But friends, I'd like you to reserve your warmest welcome for two of our great heroes, former Premiers Barry Unsworth and Bob Carr. Barry and Bob know more about government and public life than most, but above all they know that only Labor can deliver the policies and priorities that the people of New South Wales need and want. And in just 1 year, that is exactly what they will have. 1 year until we have a government that looks after working people, particularly its own. 1 year until the environment has its champion back. No more letting rich National Party donors suck our rivers dry. 1 year until we can put an end to the endless privatisations and sale of public assets. $50 billion in sales so far. A year until we can begin the task of making our TAFE system the world's best again, and we will. 1 year until we get some sensible planning laws and until we can do something real about housing affordability. Friends, 1 short year until Labor receives its very simple mandate from the people of New South Wales. Schools and hospitals before stadiums. Friends, we can do this, and together we will. Thank you.
Well, my very great pleasure to introduce you to my good friend, the Shadow Minister assisting the Leader on Western Sydney, Prue Carr MP.
Thank you so much, Karen. Karen is someone I've known my whole life. She is my great friend, and she's soon to be my colleague, the next Labor member for Penrith. And thank you so much to Michael, someone that we're all proud to call our Deputy Leader, a true servant of Labor. True servant of Labor, and someone out there prosecuting Labor's vision for New South Wales each and every day throughout this state. Friends, we're all here because we know just how desperately New South Wales needs a Labor government. Already this morning we have heard and seen a litany of reasons why this out-of-touch government in Macquarie Street has just got to go. The out-of-touch government that has hurt us in Western Sydney the most, and I see and I hear it every day. A tax on Western Sydney through an unfair toll on a road we've already paid for. Plans for a toxic incinerator only metres away from schools and homes. And overcrowded classrooms in our local schools in disrepair. Friends, Labor knows that government is all about priorities. And that's why I'm so proud to be part of Luke Foley's team. Proud to be part of a team led by a champion for Western Sydney. Someone who stood with this community when we had to fight the government's plans to treat us as a dumping ground for radioactive waste. Someone who knows that the Premier's Northern Beaches tunnel is nothing but a Liberal Party vanity project, while Western Sydney communities cry out for public transport. He stared down one North Shore Premier, and he's about to do it again. A leader who knows that good state governments mean good schools and good hospitals. A leader with the right priorities. But just don't take my word for it. Here's what the experts have to say. Please be upstairs. Next Labor Premier of New South Wales, Luke Foley.
President. And with hope, I look forward to the second Monday in June next year, a public holiday dedicated to Indigenous culture and history, and on that day, the Aboriginal flag flying high above our Sydney Harbour Bridge. As it will every day. But before we can share that celebration, we must pass the test on March 23. The test of Election Day, now less than a year away. That's the beauty of democracy, the people decide. And the central message here today is that New South Wales Labor is ready. Ready to speak up, to stand up, to earn the confidence of the people. And we're ready to govern. Ready to deliver for the people. And friends, I want to let you in on a secret. I'm going to be a premier for parents and pupils, for patients and passengers. I've got no interest in delivering for a handful of power brokers on the SCG Trust. That little secret, let me share it with you. Schools and hospitals before stadiums. A fairer New South Wales. So now, this government's in its 8th year. In the last 4 years, these Conservatives have given New South Wales 3 premiers, 3 deputy premiers and 4 treasurers. All that personnel, hardly the model of stable government. All those changes, but only ever one idea. The grand record of their achievement, the sum total of their plan for your future, privatisation. Selling $50 billion worth of public assets. But they're not even very good at that. Ask the deal makers who picked up Vales Point Power Station in Yasmin's electorate. Built in 1978 by the Rand Labor government to secure Sydney's power supply. Sold by this government for just $1 million. I mean, you would struggle to find a house around here for $1 million. But this lot sold a 1,320 megawatt power station for that. The new owners picked it up for $1 million and revalued it at $730 million. Not a bad deal. Not a bad deal if you can get away with it. $730 million that could have been spent on your hospitals, your transport, your schools. Who was that genius in charge of that transaction? The then Treasurer, Ms. Berejiklian. Just as well, she had a couple of years working for the Commonwealth Bank. I mean, imagine the deal she would have lumbered us with if she didn't have that priceless banking experience. A treasurer out of a depth then, a premier out of a depth now, with a cabinet out of touch and a sports minister out of control. That's the current government of New South Wales. We will put a stop to this waste and mismanagement, this reckless stadium splurge. And I will say it every day until election day. Labor will not build these new stadiums. Labor will not build these new stadiums. Labor will build new schools. Now friends, Sydney hit 40 degrees just last Sunday, on March 18. 7 of Australia's hottest years ever have been recorded since 2005. On January 7, the hottest place on Earth was here, here in Western Sydney. Hotter than the Sahara, hotter than the Sinai. School back 3 weeks later. Adele and I know how wrung out our 3 are when they get home from school on a good day. the door bursts open, the shoes fly off, they smash open the pantry, tear the door off the fridge, leave Weet-Bix and muesli bars and slices of cheese all along that route from the kitchen to the TV. It's a horrific sight. But seriously, in summer, it's appalling. Grandparents know how hot our schools are at end-of-year concerts and presentations. Every parent knows what it's like at 3:30. The kids melt in the door. Every teacher knows what it's like at 2:30. They melt at their desks. If their kids can barely breathe, how can they learn well? I saw it firsthand this week, here in Western Sydney, at the Ponds High School. A new school opened 3 years ago, just 3 years ago. It's already full, 1,150 students. The Liberals just didn't build a school big enough even for the needs of today, 3 years on. Think about the population growth that continues in that part of Western Sydney, in the northwest growth area. Next year, the Ponds High, which will be a school 4 years old, will need 12 demountable classrooms. Next year. In 5 years, they'll require 50 demountables. Roland Dupree, who runs the Ponds P&C, is here today. Stand up, Roland. Roland, thank you for what you do for the 1,150 students and all the teachers and staff at the Ponds High. On Friday you told me about the overcrowding, the lack of resources and the ridiculous situation of your teachers and students trying to go about their work in 40-degree temperatures. And what you said to me, Roland, this stuck with me. You said to me, they are roasting, not learning. Our classrooms are not air-conditioned. Compare that to our prison cells. I can assure you, our murderers and drug dealers and terrorists serve their time in air-conditioned comfort, perhaps a necessary evil. And architects, accountants, systems administrators work in air-conditioned spaces, rightly so. Members of Parliament, we have air-conditioned offices. And of course, every corporate suite at the Sydney Football Stadium and the Olympic Stadium's air-conditioned. Every last one. Over the last 12 months, I've held town hall meetings right across the state, in places like Queanbeyan, Anania, Holsworthy, Camden, many other towns and suburbs. And in this last week, I've visited communities right across the state, from the far north coast, the far south coast, out into western New South Wales and through suburbs across Sydney. No one has said to me we should spend less on the comfort of our teachers or less on the education of our children. No one said to me we should spend more on facilities for big private sponsors of major sport. Now friends, our teachers work and our children learn in conditions that are simply unprofessional. There's very few indoor public spaces in New South Wales today which are not air conditioned. Schools are the glaring exception. So I announced today that if Labor is elected to government next March, we will allocate $300 million to air condition hundreds of schools across the state. Today that under a Labor government, here in Penrith, in this electorate, all 22 local public schools will be air conditioned. Across Sydney's west, in regional New South Wales, thousands of classrooms and tens of thousands of children will have air conditioning at school for the first time. And I could go further. All new schools built under a Labor government will be built with air conditioning. Frankly, you just can't believe that's not the case today. And powered wherever possible by renewable energy, rooftop solar. And installed by skilled and licensed local workers in trades inspected and regulated by the state. Labor will air condition children's classrooms. The Liberals will air condition the corporate suites at their new stadiums. That's the difference between them and us, friends. Labor's Cool Schools policy is the newest element in our comprehensive plan for education and training. Surplus government land will go to build new and expand existing schools, an unprecedented schools building program. Every new public school will have childcare or before and after school care facilities on the site. Yay! All new schools, public, Catholic, independent, exempt from crippling local infrastructure charges. Every primary school student taught a second language. Every child able to access at least 15 hours of affordable preschool education per week in the year before they commence school. And a minimum 70% of vocational education and training funding going to TAFE, the public 15% of jobs on major government construction projects allocated to apprentices, trainees, Indigenous Australians and the long-term unemployed. And I can also announce today a new deal for our local libraries, the heartbeat of local learning. The state government's per resident subsidy for local libraries has been frozen for years. The result is shrinking collections, dwindling staff numbers, working shorter hours. We can't be a state where everyone learns throughout their life if we're not a state where every community has a great local library. So today I can announce the Labor government will double per capita funding to local public libraries all over New South Wales. Because we're here today campaigning for hospitals and schools, the Premier's followed us. This morning she's re-announcing a policy she announced in March last year. Stage 2 of the Nepean Hospitals upgrade. The fact is that Ms Berejiklian and the local member here, Mr Ayres, they'll build an entirely new stadium in Sydney's eastern suburbs by 2021, but make people here in the West wait for years longer for the Nepean Hospital upgrade. When it comes to hospitals, we'll do so much more than the Liberals because we won't splurge $2.7 billion on these new stadiums. New South Wales Labor has a plan for health and education. The Liberals have a policy for corporate suites. They always have the wrong priorities. So it's no wonder they'll put at least $8 billion into a Northern Beaches tunnel. Metropolitan Sydney doesn't need a new Northern Beaches toll road nearly as much as it needs a rail link to the Western Sydney Airport and increased rail capacity between the Parramatta and the Sydney CBDs. They're the greatest metropolitan transport priorities here in Western Sydney. The Liberals ignore the West. And now they're partners in crime, the Nationals. They're just bored with representing the bush. They've become quite bored with it. They've got to like city life. You know, they quite enjoy those air-conditioned stadiums with the once great country party. And the people who've so long looked to the Nationals for representation, they can tell. I've heard it myself in Wilcannia and Menindee on the banks of the Darling River, where the Nationals have stolen the water from their own constituents. I heard it in Broken Hill, where the students and teachers at the TAFE campus told me of course cuts and the advice from the government: go to Dubbo. That's an 8-hour drive east. At Coonamble, in Western New South Wales, a couple of hours north of Dubbo. Actually, in a paddock this week, 27 kilometres north of Coonamble, 150 farmers converged to tell me how angry they are at the Nationals. I was told there'd be 20. 150 lifelong National Party voters whose precious water from the Great Artesian Basin is now at risk from a National Party intent on expanding the coal seam gas industry. Now, you all know I quite like the races. I was at the Golden Slipper yesterday at Rose Hill. I was at the Miracle Mile at Menangle with Greg a couple of weeks ago. And at the Coonamble dog track, at the Coonamble Greyhound Carnival, they run a Thank You Luke Foley Stakes. It's a 530-metre race. The inaugural winner, a dog called Lunatic Desley. Now, I'm always on the hunt for a trifecta, but here's the National Party's trifecta: a Greyhound band, coal seam gas, and a Sydney Stadium splurge. That's the National Party trifecta. Friends, 4 more years of a Liberal National Government would be dismal enough. But 4 more years of a Liberal National Government in coalition with One Nation would be dreadful. Labor will not give One Nation a single preference anywhere in New South Wales. Here's my challenge to Ms Berejiklian, Mr Barilaro: make the same commitment on behalf of the Liberal and National parties. Make the commitment John Howard was prepared to make. I just fear the Premier doesn't have the strength to do the right thing on this. She seems bound by a vow of silence. Ms Berejiklian, you should know better. John Howard, when he led the Liberal Party federally, put One Nation last. Do the right thing. Make the same commitment as Labor makes. Make it today. I'd rather lose an election than cosy up to a political party that advocates racial discrimination. So friends, here we are, 52 weeks from polling day, and in New South Wales, every seat has always counted. I think of the elections in 1976, in 1995, Bob and Helena, that were so hard fought, Bob and Neville forming Labor governments with just a majority of 1 seat. There's people here who've worked on every Labor campaign since Neville's in 1976. There's people here champing at the bit to work on their first great Labor campaign. It's wonderful to have you. Every vote counts, every door knock, every phone call, every conversation will make a difference. And here in Penrith today, we remember the words that Neville Rand so famously spoke. When he said He said, "It was said of Caesar Augustus that he found Rome brick and left it marble. It will be said of Gough Whitlam that he found the outer suburbs of Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane unsewered and left them fully flushed." That's always the Labor way. Essential public services, the building blocks of a good life for everyone. Schools and hospitals before stadiums, classrooms, not coliseums. Friends, the people want a fair in New South Wales. The people are ready for a good Labor government. We're ready to campaign. We're ready to govern. We have 1 year to go. Let's get out there and get this done. Thank you.
And of course, I think the first thanks has to go to our parliamentary leader and the next Premier of New South Wales. Once again, can we thank Luke Foley for that tremendous... It's been a magnificent effort by the Labor Party here in New South Wales over the last couple of months to put together the bus tour and today's launch. Only Labor can get out and speak to the community. Only Labor could traverse this great state and speak to people in schools, farmers, people in hospitals in 1 week. But not only that, it's only Labor that listens and understands the needs of the community. So I want to take this opportunity to thank the people who put together both the bus trip and the launch. It's been a tremendous effort, and we should thank them. And we should thank in particular Sarah Cowell, David Dobson, Dylan Williams, Keenan Kennett, Alex Costello, Luna Zivadinovic, and also the magnificent team from New South Wales and London Labor. Can you put your hands together? And of course, the architect of all this, our General Secretary, Carl Monet. Thanks to you, the branch members, supporters and friends of Labor for your attendance today, and also the work that you've put in over the last week or so in supporting the bus tour and as well as the launch today, as I say. There's only 1 year to go, but after hearing that speech today, after looking at the magnificent team we have up here on the stage, we know that 12 months from now, Labor will once again sit on the Treasury and government benches of this great state of New South Wales. And finally, the winner of the raffle. It is ticket number 027312. Step forward and over the side here, and someone will get first prize is a trip to the Canamble Greyhounds. Well done.